Disaster alert. I didn't anticipate any problem. Ooh! What is croissant? It's flour and the unholy amount of butter. Brilliant idea to wear black. Hello, I'm Lisa, and today I want to try something new on the channel. Basically, I want to Julie and Julia, the pastry chef of the moment, the one and only Cedric Grolet. Hopefully I didn't butcher his name. He's like this whiz kid rock star of the pastry world, and there's some sort of pilgrimage to his coffee shop. I was lucky enough to visit Paris last spring and I saw the queues myself. I didn't have patience to wait for a couple of hours to get my croissant or other pastry, and it was raining. But I thought, why not to make the world's most renowned desserts in home kitchen? So I got a digital copy of his book, which is called Opéra Pâtisserie. Let me check. I apologize to people who know the first thing about French pronunciation. Sorry.
Opéra Pâtisserie.
Yeah, it was bad, but it could have been worse. That's a very accurate depiction of my life so far, and the state of the world in general. And the first recipe in this book, unsurprisingly, is croissant. It's one of the things that made Cedric Grolet famous. If you check his Instagram, you'll see he loves his croissant. I have never tried to make one at home, and it's surprising too, because I love a good baking project and a challenge, and croissant seems like one, but the problem is I don't really like croissants. Yeah, confession time. I don't like bare pastry desserts in general. Probably I have a palate of a child because I want it to be drenched in cream and chocolate. Anyway, here is what I aim for. I'll try to follow the recipe to a T and see if it's possible to recreate the most famous Parisian croissants at home. Who knows, maybe Cedric will convert me and I will become a croissant lover. And if I don't, I know people who'll be happy to have a little present in the form of croissants. Let's begin. It all starts with good old mise en place where every ingredient is prepared. However, Cedric calls for cake flour. I thought making croissant should be quite straightforward when it comes to ingredients. And it is, but for whatever reason there is no such thing as cake flour where I live. So I have to start with making the right flour. And it's the moment when that meme lady sings in my head about surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
The internet wisdom told me that I can decrease the percentage of protein of all-purpose flour by adding cornstarch. So, considering I half the recipe, so instead of 1 kilo of cake flour, I need 500 grams and a bit more for dusting. I have 510 grams of all-purpose flour and I add 90 grams of cornstarch here. Boom. I presume I have to mix it well. Normally I'm way more frivolous with the recipes. However, the point of this video is to stick to the recipe of Mr. Grolet. Now it's sifting time. 2 times. Or 3. But probably 2 because I'm lazy. It was a brilliant idea to wear black, working with flour. Making my own flour. Round number 2. Cake flour is ready. Finally, time to make the dough. 500 grams of freshly made cake flour. I try to be as precise as possible. The rest will be used for surface dusting, because I'm sure Cedric doesn't allow lousy all-purpose flour in his croissants. 2.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast. And here's a problem. It says dissolved in milk or water. However, I don't know how much water should I add. Not to hydrate the dough too much. Or maybe I'm overthinking. Probably I'm overthinking. A splash. Oh, the recipe calls for water, so probably I will add some from the pre-measured cup. Tiny whisk. Maybe it will sit a little. And I'll have the egg. Obviously when I'm shooting there will be an eggshell. It never happens when nobody's watching. 25 grams of the egg go to the flour. Make it 35. Probably it's not the end of the world, but I will try to fish the excess. Yeast, I dissolved in water. It's ready. 1/2 tablespoon of salt. 50 grams of fine sugar. 10 grams of honey. And finally I add water. Cedric calls for an electric stand mixer. Cook. Let's get started. It's time for butter. And here we go again until it's smooth. Thanks for your service. I think it's smooth enough. And now the dough should rest under a damp towel. I need to fetch a damp towel. Now it should rest at room temperature, but I normally just turn on light in the oven and let it sit there for an hour. Meanwhile, I will try to make this square of butter. Apparently in France they have these butter sheets for croissants sold everywhere. I need 200 grams of unsalted dry butter, which has 84 fat content. Luckily, it's a thing here and it can be easily bought, not in a square shape, so I have to make it myself. And now I need parchment paper to turn it into a square. It finishes. Okay, luckily it's the right amount. Patchwork. I guess I'll need a ruler. 11, 14. Well, I need to even it out. Ow. It's vaguely satisfying and kind of hard to stop. The recipe doesn't specify the height of this butter square, but if you're interested, it's around 5-ish millimeters. It goes to the fridge. You know what? I think I'll make pain au chocolat as well. It's the second recipe in the book and it requires the same dough, and I like it more because it has chocolate. I have to research what kind of chocolate they're using because it says chocolate sticks. It's not enough for me. I definitely need subtitles. In that video, Cedric said that they make their own chocolate, obviously. I am not making my own chocolate. After all, I made my own cake flour. I don't think I'll ever make chocolate because the idea of tempering seems really annoying. However, he said that their chocolate is very concentrated and it practically has no sugar. So my solution to it is to take 90% premium chocolate. But I have a problem with it because the chocolate bars, croissants au chocolat, how they call them, I'm very sorry, they were way thicker than this chocolate, at least 2 times thicker. So I will probably double the size. We'll see, we'll see. Ow, it broke. Whoops. So far from being perfect, but I will kind of glue them. It goes here. I have 2 sticks and I can make 1 pain au chocolat. Okay, only 2 pieces. I'm getting better. Oh, it's it's very ugly. Maybe I shouldn't measure and go with the flow, or maybe not. My ugly chocolate sticks are ready. I don't want to melt them because, I don't know, additional heat. I don't think it's good for the chocolate. The dough's ready, It's well rested and hopefully rose. So what Cedric wants me to do: punch down the dough by hand, then roll it out to the width of the dry butter and double its length. Okay, it's too sticky to my liking, but he saw me. I followed every step. So here I have the rest of my cake flour. My butter is around 15 centimeters. I have to stick to it. It's very tender. Okay. I need to refrigerate it. 5 minutes in the freezer. Stay hydrated. Okay, 5 minutes in the freezer, done. I transfer my dough to the fridge for 15 minutes. Time to roll the dough. I have my butter and I have my dough. It feels extremely delicate. Place the dry butter in the middle of the dough. Fold over the edge of the dough on each side. Place butter side up. I don't know which side is butter side. Let's pretend it's this side. Using a rolling pin, make a double turn, which means roll from top to bottom to a thickness of about 7 millimeters. The next step is make a slight mark in the middle of the dough. 30, 46 means I need 23. Here it is. Fold the top and the bottom to this midpoint. The final step is to fold the dough in half like a wallet. Okay, 10 minutes in the fridge. New parchment paper. It's so roughly, I don't know, looks fancy. Ow! No blood? Okay, it's fine. Just in time. Back to business. Finally, do a simple turn. Roll out the dough to a thickness of 1 centimeter. Fold the top third of the dough down and then fold the bottom third over the top. And the final roll should be to 3.5 millimeters. To be honest, as interesting as it is, I don't think it's worth it. It's time to remind myself what 3.5 millimeters look like. Not much. I think I'm nearly there. So I need triangles with base of 7 centimeters and the length of 35 centimeters. And pain au chocolat should be 20 by 7 centimeters rectangles. It's an endless croissant. Looks cute. Sorry to interrupt you, sir. 35 centimeters looks way too long. But who am I to argue with Cedric Grolet? Maybe that's the secret. According to Cedric, croissants need 30 more minutes to proof. So I'm sending them to my oven with lights on and let them be alone there for about 30 minutes. And then I'll add my pain au chocolat. Here is my beautiful chocolate stick. So I have to put it closer to the edge. Nobody will know it's not a solid stick. Roll up about 2 centimeters and add another stick. Actually, it doesn't look that impressive, but we shall see. So I'm adding pain au chocolat, edge down. They don't look nearly as cute as the ones I saw in that video. What am I doing wrong? Obviously, Cedric is using fancy proofing machine, which has like this humidity bursts from time to time. This oven doesn't have any humidity feature, but once again, the internet wisdom told me I can mimic it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the moment when everything went down the hill. I'm bringing the water to a simmer and I will put it in my oven as well, so its humidity will help my proofing. We shall see. I put it in the oven and hope for the best. So there is 1 hour, 30 minutes to go until I'll be able to bake them. I don't want and I don't need to make 20 croissants. So I cut the edges and pack the dough. Maybe I will experiment with it one day. For now, it goes to the freezer. I don't know what to do with this thing is. Maybe I will make random shapes, see what comes of it. It's almost a triangle, so I'll make an ugly croissant out of it. This one can be a croissant as well. I will let these weirdos proof at room temperature, cover them with cloth and wait. I can make egg wash in advance. I need a little bit of whipping cream. I make a super small batch because I don't have many pastries. 1 egg yolk. The recipe calls for 9 large egg yolks. I don't know. Maybe I'll add another one and that's it. Actually, in the video I watched, they also added some honey. The book says nothing about it, so I'm sticking to the book. This is egg wash. This is my omelette. Disaster alert. I think, ooh. Okay, the butter started melting. I will try to clean it a little, but I guarantee there'll be no rise. So here is the lesson not to trust the internet so blindly. Okay, I hope they still will be fine, like fine. I'm not in the mood to remake them, so let's hope for the best. Two hours later, there is melted butter everywhere, but I'm still determined to bake them and see what happens. Probably these croissants and pain au chocolat are way more diet friendly because they have less butter. After all, there are women in it, but we shall see. I'm a bit disappointed in myself for trying this hot pan hack. Obviously, the water was too hot and I messed up my croissant batch. So egg wash is done and they go to the oven, which is preheated to 175 Celsius, or it's about 350 Fahrenheit. Also, I decided to make another croissant from the rest of the dough to experiment and see whether they will differ in taste and how much they will differ in taste. That's probably the correct way to put it. But for now, this batch goes to the oven for 15 minutes. Well, it didn't rise. Not surprising, considering all butter was gone. This solo croissant is still proofing, so probably I will bake the batch of my ugly kids. Don't tell them I call them ugly. Okay, they're not that ugly, they're just unconventional. Probably taste-wise, they'll be much better than this batch because their butter is still inside the dough. It's funny that I started this video claiming that I will follow the recipe to a T, and the moment I decided to improvise, this happened. This decisively flat croissant is a good lesson in being humble. The more you live, the more you learn. And a chocolate fell down. The oddly shaped batch is ready. As you can see, there are a lot of layers and there's nothing wrong with the dough. However, my proofing method with the first batch was more than questionable, and I wouldn't recommend using this hot water pan hack. This one was proofing for almost 2 hours, and we're closer and closer to the moment of truth. Will I be able to make a decent croissant, which will make Cedric Grolet proud? I mean, he doesn't know about my existence, but still. Okay. Well, so it's definitely taller. Expectations, reality. That final croissant, I mean, it looks good, but nothing to write home about. Let's see what they taste like. Flat batch. No butter, too dense. It looks like a cake if you ask me. I presume it will be like this one. Actually, it has more air, but still quite dense. It what reminds the real croissant the most. Okay. Here we are. Maybe I don't eat croissants often enough, but this one looks quite dense as well. It's better, but not airy enough. I can't call it success, but I haven't tried them yet. So, the taste is really good. Surprisingly, taste-wise, it's one of the best croissants I've had in a very long time. Maybe because I don't order them. Can you recreate croissants from the finest Parisian bakeries at home? The answer is yes. I'm not the person who can do this, obviously, but I think it's possible.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it.
The next day.
Guess what? I made another batch of dough. But before that, I shaped and baked the rest of the dough with my DIY cake flour. And it turned out, I mean, it looks fine. But inside, it's still, you know, very, very cakey. And even though there are certain layers, they're not as flaky as you anticipate dealing with croissants. So I decided maybe the internet wronged me 2 times in one video. I wanted to check it and made a new batch of the dough using all-purpose flour. 10% protein content was the lowest I could find. For whatever reason, I was determined to redeem that hot water proofing hack. So I made 2 batches. This time, I put simmering water in the oven before shaping the croissants. I removed the pan once the croissants were ready to proof. 2 croissants went to the oven where the hot water was supposed to work its humidity magic. As you can see, even a modified version of this hot water hack didn't work. Sure, the butter leakage wasn't as disastrous, but the croissants definitely didn't look right. In the end, they cracked in the middle while baking. Whereas these 2 were proofing at room temperature. Guess what? That's what the book said. It proves that sometimes the most hassle-free method gives the best results. Sure, these 2 croissants are far from being picture-perfect like the ones Cedric Grolet makes. Yet, they're the most successful batch I made so far. Hopefully my stubbornness will let me stop here. Seriously, I'm done with this pastry. Okay, that smells like it. It reminds a normal croissant. Does it taste good? I don't know at this point. Yeah, tastes good. It has layers, it's flaky, everything you look for in croissant. Here, crunch. I don't like crunch. What did we learn from this video? You should be very suspicious when it comes to hacks from the internet. If you make your own cake flour, as I did, unfortunately, your croissants will end up being quite cakey. No pun intended. Stick to the recipe, but don't overdo it. I mean, if it says cake flour and you can't get it, use all-purpose. I mean, it's a safer bet. That said, the instructions in that book were not that detailed. I don't know, maybe when the time comes to make more elaborate, interesting desserts, it will be a problem. You know, yesterday when this batch came out, I was a bit disappointed. However, it's a good representation of what being a home cook is, or, I don't know, life in general. Don't we all fail toward something good, or something okay? Sometimes it takes a few attempts, and you go from cakey to flaky. Now I have all these croissants I have no intention to eat. I don't know, maybe these croissants feel, no matter how good they are, I won't fully appreciate them, so they don't even try. Please let me know if you like this type of videos where I try new recipes and, well, share the process with you. Thank you for watching. Bye! According to my research, never enough space. Here's the face of this hands. This one's for you. This one's for me. Cheers. Stay hydrated. Stay curious. Buy 7. Okay, it's not 7. And stay humble. Makes weird sounds. It's turned off.